Hi, how you doing? My name is Suzanne Fetherling, and I am a biology teacher at Hoffman Estates High School in the northwest suburbs. I just want to share with you a few things that I've been doing over the past couple weeks. I'll be entering my fourth week of e-learning, and I've pretty much come to rely on a few resources that I've used pretty consistently. So I just want to share those with you. My contact information, if you have any questions that you want to ask me directly, my email is included below. And then also, I want you or encourage you to check out all of the videos that have been posted so far by the Baxter Center for Science Education. We had a great one last week by Mary Clark, who teaches chemistry and forensics, and she provided some great resources for you to use. And then also Ashley Walter and Jen Richards did another recording last week about what the research is saying that the kids need during this e-learning time. So I encourage you to check those out, and those can be found on the website that I've listed below. Before I actually show you some of the resources that I'm going to share with you, there are pretty much four things that I'm really using consistently, and I'll mention them throughout the series when I'm going through some of the materials. But the first one is Screencastify, and Screencastify is what I'm using right now to actually make this recording. So basically, I've just made a like a PowerPoint type lecture. I think I did this in Google Slides. And then I'm using Screencastify with an embedded webcam to just do a recording over. So whatever's popping up on my screen is obviously what you're seeing. There's another app that I use all the time, and this I've actually used before e-learning started, and it's something called Notability. And if you're not familiar with Notability, it's great to use if you have an iPad. And what you can do is you can upload PDF documents into it, and then you can actually write on them and do a screen recording over it. So this would be a great tool for you to use if you wanted to, for example, show your kids how to do some practice problems on a worksheet. So you could go through, do a couple practice problems, write through how to work them out, and then post that recording for your students, and then they could continue along with the other problems that they have to complete for your day's assignment. I have been using Zoom. I know there's been a lot of talk about Zoom, but I've had some success with it. I know that's one of the things that a lot of people have been struggling with, is getting their kids to actually attend online meetings. I've had about an 80% success rate. So I'm going to talk about how I've used Zoom with my classes. And then the other resource that I constantly pull materials from, but I've heavily relied on, is HHMI. If you don't use a lot of their things, I really encourage you to. They have great short videos that are usually in the range anywhere from like 7 to 15 minutes that really give the kids a lot of interesting information on different scenarios. And then they also provide actual student and teacher materials that you can use. So what I have for you that I would like to share, this link is going to be or this Google Doc is going to be shared with you. And it's basically what I've done for my evolution unit. So right when we went on this e-learning break, I was just ready to start evolution. And so my school uses something called Schoology. So this is not really the daily agenda that my kids see, but this is basically a summary of what we covered. So I have for you like what the topic was that we did, and then like what were the two things that we covered. Now, one thing I do want to let you know is that I'm on block scheduling. So some of this you might want to break up into 2 days if you're interested in using any of it. So what I hope is that this resource is just something that you can either follow if you want to use it, or if you're like, I'm pretty good with my evolution unit, but maybe I'm looking for a couple of just different activities to do now that we're online learning. I've listed some here for you, so you could just pull something for a day. So on the left here, I have what I did, kind of what the agenda is, and then on the right, all the links that go with it. So my second day, for example, Darwin and Natural Selection, on the links part, if you just click on it, you can open up a folder and you have access to everything that I used for that day. Now, this might look like a lot. Obviously, the kids didn't see everything that's on this page. But what I do have here is I made a video lecture for them which is not posted for you because I don't know if your kids would like some random lady talking to them, but I did include the slides that I used. And if you want to do a video recording for yourself or just use the slides, you're more than welcome to, or you can just make a copy and you can adjust it if you want. But I also included the note sheet that I gave my kids, and I included the Word document. So if there's some things that you like and you just want to adjust it, you can adjust it for your own. The Rock Pocket Mouse is an activity that I took from HHMI. It's an amazing activity. I have the original document right here. Whoops, I don't want to change anything on that. But I actually converted it to a Word document because I just wanted to incorporate some other questions. So I also included my adjusted copy here as well. It's very close to the original, but it's all those documents are there for you. And in case if you want to use the original, there's a key as well that's directly from the HHMI website. Also going back to just what I've done with evolution, two things that I want to point out. One of the activities was this biochemical evidence for evolution. It's a more difficult activity. So what I did is I showed them how I wanted them to do this by using that Notability app and taking a screen recording. If you're not familiar with Notability, right here in red, I included a little video that I made for teachers just on like what the app looks like and what you can do with it. So you can see what my kids actually saw with this biochemical evidence for evolution video instructions, which you have access to. So that would be like one of my little lecture things, please don't judge me, that I have. And then the Notability, that would just be for you and like what you can do with that app, but it's really, really short. The other thing that I just kind of wanted to talk about was Zoom and what I've done with that. So one of the days we did a sickle cell and malaria Zoom lab. And this is basically just one of those typical things where the kids have beans or they have materials that have to represent a normal allele and a sickle cell allele. I'm sure a lot of you have done an activity like this before, and they have to like randomly pick out from a gene pool whether someone's homozygous normal, heterozygous, or homozygous for sickle cell, and then they flip a coin whether or not to see if they're infected with malaria. And they see how the allele frequencies change over many generations. And you can find those lab materials right here. But what I really wanted to talk about is how I did this with Zoom. So I did this in two classes, and in one class I had an 85% attendance rate, and the other class I had a 100% attendance rate. And what I found with Zoom is just that a lot of people are using it just to do as a check-in, like, how are you doing? I want to touch base with you. Or they're using it for, we're going to maybe have a quiz. What questions do you have? And it's kind of an open forum. And pretty much I haven't really heard of anyone having a high success rate with that. So what I have done instead is I have given them, my students, an actual assignment to do. So we all come in and we talk as a class. And then I break them up into their lab groups and they're doing an actual activity. And I've done this in other classes. For example, in my AP class, we're currently in genetics, and they are working on a genetic Drosophila fly lab assignment. And I've had really, really high attendance with that. In my elective biology class, we took a quiz together, but I broke them up into groups and I had pretty high attendance in there as well. And so I want to emphasize that if you're thinking about using Zoom and in the past you haven't had a lot of kids show up, make the stakes a little bit higher where it's, or give them an incentive to show up with an actual agenda of something that you're going to get done, and that it's going to be easier if you work on it in a group. So one other thing that I want to show you in Zoom, if you go to if you have an account and you go to settings, all right, and then over here in settings, if you go to meeting advanced, turn on this break room button. And if you come to our Baxter Center for Science Education Zoom talk on Thursday, we'll probably go into breakout rooms as well. And this has been key in actually assigning my kids to little lab groups, and then they can complete their lab activity. And they actually really had a fun time doing it. So it wasn't just, there weren't a lot of like dull moments and lulls in the conversation, because they actually had an activity to do. Okay, so I don't want to, bore you or make this video way too long, but I hope you'll join us tomorrow. And if you have any questions on some of the things that I presented for you or introduced, then please let me know. And I'll be happy to share more detail with you on how to use Zoom, or how I've been using it, or Notability, or Screencastify, or any of these materials that I've posted for you for an evolution unit. Thanks, and hopefully I will see you on Thursday.